Welcome into another episode of the Spaceman 2.0 Phoenix Truth Rising Show. Here to help you grow in the knowledge and wisdom of truth, and the truth will set you free. With the best history lesson and spiritual insights on the planet, exposure of the Illuminati's plan of world conquest and control is the death knell to the New World Order. So getting back into the Phoenix Operator Owner Manual after a little bit of a relay. Anyways, this is going to be one of the most important lessons for the Phoenix Operator Owner Manual. The responsible procreation of your species. Why? Because they know through our procreative abilities, we are controlled. And they control us because they have to use our creative abilities to create for them. These elites have no empathy, and only with empathy can you create. And only with love can you create. They have no connection to love. They've breeded it out of themselves by marrying their cousins. And this creates a very psychological, psychotic aspect to be basically sociopathic, which allows you to pretend you have empathy with words, but you really don't, because you have to learn how to answer questions in an empathetic way to make it sound like you care, but you really don't. That's why these elites continuously destroy anyone else in their way for whatever they want. And they use us in whatever way they can to create their agenda. So knowing this, they can't create shit without us focusing on their agenda through either fear or desire by other means, because they make it look like it's something we want. Like the golden arch is over McDonald's, so to speak, making you attract you to it. They're using symbolic energies and attracting you into it through symbolic and hypnotic subliminal messaging. So that's why the elites are after the one aspect of ourselves, our procreative abilities, in one way or another. So that being said, let's get back into the Phoenix Operator Owner Manual. Number 15. You must obey the wisdom of God for the responsible and balanced procreation of your species. We have written about the commitment of marriage by a man and a woman to God as being one of the necessary components to also becoming a parent for God, which means procreating your species. See law number 8, you must not commit adultery. Now, the divine and sacred act, which is created by God for the procreation of the species, you ones call sexual union. God created this divine union to be performed between one man and one woman, specifically for maintaining the balanced level of the species for each given planetary system. Now the fallen ones or adversaries of godness have completely perverted and maligned this once sacred and divine act that at one time was done with complete love and devotion to the Father within each partner, so that sex is now called a birthright to be done often with impunity and with many partners of either sex and without consideration of love or responsible procreation. How we and the Father weep for you. This one abuse of God's creation has nearly destroyed your species. Let us quote once again. Okay, so just to reiterate, when it says how we down here and the Father weep for you, who's we? We is the host of God, the host of the creation. These are the messengers of this time giving you the instructions through the Phoenix Journals. There are many titles to choose from, and you can get yours copy today. And scroll down below and see how we can get one sent out to you and shipped today. Just email me and we'll figure that out for you. So in a past episode of the Phoenix Truth Rising Show, I went over, they called his name Emmanuel. I am Sananda, which is the true gospel of Jesus, Jesus, Emmanuel, Christos. The act of marriage and procreation must have the highest degree of pure intent and preparation, for upon these bonds and restrictions will rest the preservation of mankind as a species upon the planet. If everything is done and adhered to, justice and peace will come to all mankind, and life in the human form can be preserved. If man continues his selfish and imprudent behavior, he will sound his own death tariffs. There reaches a point beyond which a planet cannot support the unbalanced system perpetrated by mankind. And yet, so shall it come to pass, read this carefully, that man will not listen and bring destruction upon his own species. It will come about in some 2 millennium that man will have reached the point of self-destruction. This is 1991, friends. Have you fulfilled this prophecy of Jesus, the Christ, Emmanuel, and other prophets before him? And so it is projected by the prophets, and shall it come to pass. in its time of fulfillment and in my time of fulfillment. End of quote. So let's begin with God's directive about marriage and procreation between a man and a woman. It is very clear that this does not say a marriage and sexual act is okay between a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or two men and one woman, or three women and one man, or etc. Again, the laws of balance are logical, meaning they were created specifically to maintain balance within the creation. Because of the various degrees of deliberate, systematic, and benevolently lewd and lascivious sexual behaviors, which are the corruption of this divine union, and which have been and are practiced by most of your on your plane, the warning given above by our beloved Jesus Emmanuel is transpiring before your very eyes in this time frame. Now I'll end this episode with a little bit of insight from Walter Russell and Saint Germain's True Physics of the Universe. So, back to Phoenix Operator Owner Manual, responsible procreation of the species. The sexual act was specifically designed to be performed by one man and one woman who had committed their divine love as one in the union of marriage ordained by God. Through this union of love, the act of sexual intercourse between a husband and his wife for procreation was a most sacred and honored responsibility, an extension of their love and commitment to God in his service as parents of his children. Now remember the law of cause and effect. The effects of breaking this one directive of God are all about you today. Overpopulation, the spread of fatal venereal and blood-borne diseases such as syphilis and AIDS are proving to be your self-punishment to the point of creating the nearly complete destruction of a human species on Earth. So let there be no misunderstanding. The following behaviors are specifically and undeniably against or contrary to the laws of God and the creation. 1. Any homosexual sexual activity between two or more men is strictly forbidden. 2. Any homosexual sexual activity between two or more women is strictly forbidden. 3. Any bisexual sexual activity between two or more men and women is strictly forbidden. Oh, well, I'm going to get in trouble for this one, ain't I? Keep in mind we are specifically referring to sexual activities, not love, intimacy, sharing soul-deep closeness and specialness of the friendship. You see, that's love. It's different than sex. You have to understand that. Cohabitation, sharing living quarters, home together, and friendship between members of the same sex, meaning that it is the lewd, lustful, and irresponsible sexual act that is specifically and strictly against God and life. 4. Any anal sodomy, sexual intercourse performed between any persons, male or female, is strictly forbidden. This caused a huge destruction of the immune system. That's one of the biggest aspects of that act. So before we get into the next ones, bestiality, incest, pedophilia, prostitution, sadistic, masochistic, and voyeuristic, we will continue on with Walter Russell and Saint Germain's True Physics of the Universe. Matter, motion, time, change, dimension, and substance have no existence. The light of knowing mind alone exists. There is but one mind and one thinker. The one light of knowing mind is self of God. It is the universal self which centers all omnipresent self-creating bodies of God's selves. This self-creating universe is the mind-imagined body of God and record of God's thinking. We can know God, we cannot know his body, but we can see it. Likewise, we can know man. We cannot know the body of man, but we can see it. What God is, man is. God and man are one. Read this top part on your own. Quality begets quantities. The still magnetic light universe of God's knowing is an invisible, unchanging, unconditioned, and unmeasurable quality from which visible, changing, conditioned, and measurable quantities spring to simulate those qualities through two-way motion. Two-way wave motion. Okay, there's no way to say it in one word to express it, so the words are mind, consciousness, love, life, truth, desire, knowledge, power, balance, harmony, and law. Orderly, natural law. Spaceman 2.0, and I'm out.